demons, monsters, creatures. If you thought Japan was all samurai and temples, wait until you see what lives in its forests, villages, and underworlds. Number 1. Amanojaku. Amanojaku are malevolent monsters, known since before recorded history in Japan. They are known for provoking humans to act on the wicked and unholy desires buried deep in their hearts. They spread spiritual pollution wherever they go. In folklore, they are described as perverse and contradictory beings, famous for contradicting, tempting, sabotaging, and pushing people to do exactly what they shouldn't. Sometimes they appear as tiny creatures, almost demonic imps, and other times as a more abstract presence, something that clings to the heart and infects it with resentment or cruel whims. Their typical power is not strength. It is impulse, manipulation, and provocation. An Amanojaku is the demon that doesn't kill you. It convinces you to ruin yourself. Number 2. Datsueba. Datsueba is the old woman who steals clothes in the Japanese Buddhist hell, a figure who awaits the dead at the Sanzu River, the border crossing the soul must make after death. Her role is not that of a monster who hunts the living, but rather that of an executioner official of the afterlife, the one who receives you and processes your first moral judgment of the journey. When you reach the other side, she forces you to undress and takes your clothes to use as proof of what you were in life. Physically, she is imagined as a terrifying old woman, hunched over, with withered skin, disheveled white hair, and an ogre-like presence. In texts and images, she is described as an ugly and fearsome old woman, more akin to an oni than a normal human. Datsueba works alongside her male counterpart, Kene-o. She snatches the deceased's clothes and gives them to him, who hangs them on a tree known as Erioju, the tree where clothes are hung to measure the weight of sin. Number 3. Kidomaru. Kidomaru is an oni from Japanese folklore whose name means something like demon child, and he usually appears as part of the story cycle of Minamoto no Yorimitsu, also called Raiko, the warrior famous for hunting yokai and for defeating Shutendoji. Physically, he is depicted as a deformed and exaggerated oni with deliberately grotesque features, a twisted face, prominent teeth or fangs, wild black hair, and in some artistic representations, even unnaturally colored skin. His abilities are the classic oni package: brutal strength, aggression, and resilience. But his truly distinctive trait in the tales is something else entirely: predatory cunning and the use of traps as his primary weapon. In a much-cited early version, he first appears as a threat that refuses to be easily contained. He is captured, chained up, and he breaks the chains and remains on guard, brooding over revenge, as if hatred were a discipline. And when he decides to attack, he doesn't just charge, he prepares the ground and transforms the surroundings into his hiding place. Before we continue, if you're enjoying the video and like this type of content, you'd really help me out with 3 quick things: subscribe, leave a like, and share it with someone who might be interested. It seems like a small thing, but it makes all the difference to the channel. Number 4. Shikome. Shikome literally means ugly woman. In Japanese mythology, it's not used as a simple insult. It's the name of a class of witches or ogresses from the underworld, described as Kijo, female oni, who, in the oldest myth, appear as the pursuers of Yomi, the land of the dead. When one speaks of the Shikome, one is almost always referring to the Yomotsu Shikome, the ugly women of Yomi, and some ancient sources even treat them as a group rather than a single individual. Their physical description is deliberately human, but poorly rendered, as if they were women whose bodies had been twisted by the underworld. They are hideous old women with exaggerated features, withered skin, prominent teeth, and a dirty gaze, and are often understood as female oni. Not a normal old woman, but something that mimics humanity and transforms it into something repulsive. In later folklore, they are often described with more bestial features, as if Yomi had added something animalistic on top of their human flesh. Their abilities are simple and brutal but highly effective. Relentless pursuit, hunting in packs, and above all, embodying the idea that the underworld doesn't negotiate. They are the dirty arm of Yomi, sent to bring back anyone who breaks a rule. And there is a key detail about their behavior. The myth emphasizes this, making it almost comical and terrifying at the same time. They are obsessive with food, distracted by devouring whatever they find, like creatures ruled by a primal hunger, stronger than their mission for a few moments. Their most important story stems from the foundational episode of Izanagi and Izanami. Izanami dies, goes to Yomi, and Izanagi, her husband, tries to bring her back, but breaks the crucial condition, not to look at her. When he sees her in her form, already corrupted by death, he flees. And this flight is the point at which these creatures appear. Izanami, humiliated and furious, sends the Yomotsu Shikome to hunt him down for having dishonored the pact. Izanagi runs toward the exit of the underworld while they pursue him like a pack of hounds. In his flight, he throws away his black headdress, which transforms into grapes, and while the Shikome stop to devour them, he gains distance. Then he throws away his comb, which turns into buds of bamboo, and the same thing happens again. Hunger slows them down, and the living take advantage of that opening to escape. Number 5. Ushi-Oni. Ushi-Oni, also called Gyuki, is not a monster with a single form, but rather an umbrella term for yokai with bovine features. It is the ox-oni that appears mainly in coastal areas of western Japan, and also in the mountains of Shikoku. In some stories, it is a beach predator, in others, a mountain monster, and in others, almost an impossible creature from the sea. Therefore, when people ask what the Ushi-Oni looks like, the answer depends on which region is telling the story. Although its physical description changes, it always retains something bovine that blends with the demonic. There are versions where it has the body of an ox and the face of an oni, like a bull transformed into an executioner. Others go to the extreme and show it with the head of an ox on a spider's body, long legs ending in claws, crawling through wet rocks and sand like a cursed crab. And in Eihime, there's even a local theory that it has the head of an ox and the body of a whale. This demon almost always shares a common trait. It's cruel, savage, and predatory. Modern folklore collections repeatedly mention that some Ushi-Oni devour humans and can exhale or emit poison, a trait that makes them more dangerous than a simple, strong ogre. Many tales describe it as a creature that lurks in its lair and attacks when someone gets too close. Number 6. Ibaraki Doji. Ibaraki Doji is one of the most famous Oni in Japanese folklore, remembered primarily as the lieutenant and right-hand man of Shuten Doji, the great demon lord of the Heian period tales. His name appears time and again because he isn't your typical brutish ogre. Ibaraki is the Oni who thinks, the one who disguises himself, the one who returns, the one who turns a victory into an outstanding debt. Physically, sources present him as a textbook Oni, a large, savage body, immense strength, inhuman features, horns, fangs, a ferocious gaze, and skin so tough it's more like armor. His true form isn't his most dangerous because one of his powers is shape-shifting. In different versions, he appears as a young woman in distress or a respectable old woman to lure you in with compassion or courtesy just before revealing his true form. His abilities, therefore, are twofold. The first is obvious, Oni-like strength and ferocity, enough to rip a man from the ground and drag him around like a sack. The second is cunning. Ibaraki doesn't just attack. He sets traps, mimics, infiltrates, and knows how to deceive humans. In the most well-known tales, he uses deception with surgical precision. He approaches as someone who deserves help, gains a modicum of trust, and at the precise moment, he attacks. Number 7. Hashihime. Hashihime literally means princess or lady of the bridge. In legends, she appears as a woman linked to a bridge who, driven by jealousy or resentment, ends up becoming something dark, almost a demonic spirit that stalks and brings misfortune. She is associated with the Uji Bridge. She is a woman, consumed by jealousy, who goes to pray at Kifune, a shrine traditionally associated with desperate pleas. There she begs for something that shouldn't be asked for. She doesn't want comfort. She wants power. She doesn't want to forget. She wants to punish. and according to legend, the local god gives her an answer that sounds like both a test and a condemnation. If you truly want to cease being human, change your appearance, surrender to the water and the night, and subject your body to a long, repeated, almost mechanical process, as if identity could be worn away by sheer persistence. Versions differ in the exact number of days. Some speak of 21 days, others of a longer period. But the core remains the same. The woman performs a transformation ritual linked to the currents of the Uji River and ends up transformed into an Oni in life. Number 8. Yama-uba. Yama-uba, also called Yamanba, is the mountain witch of Japanese folklore, a figure who lives in forests and mountain passes where travelers get lost, snow covers the paths, and an isolated house can be your salvation or your downfall. She is not a one-faced yokai. In the tales, she can be a devourer of humans and, at the same time, a strangely kind presence, even involved in the upbringing of the hero Kintaro in later versions. This duality is part of her poison. You don't know if she will kill you, or help you only to kill you later. Physically, she usually appears as a monstrous old woman, tall, with extremely long, disheveled hair, sharp eyes that seem to pierce the skin, and a dirty, threadbare kimono. In modern descriptions, she is summed up with a very direct image, an old woman with a piercing gaze and a large mouth from ear to ear. In many stories, she has a second mouth hidden on the crown of her head or the back, covered by her hair. While she may feign modesty or decency in public, she chews with animalistic hunger in the back. And like any good mountain witch, she is also attributed with shape-shifting, appearing as a kind old woman or even as an attractive woman to deceive passers-by. She knows how to lure, disorient, read your needs, and offer you exactly what you want to hear. In some interpretations and stories, she is associated with abilities such as mind reading. But what is repeated in folk tales is her predatory nature. She invites you to sleep, waits for nightfall, reveals her true nature, and pursues you. Number 9. Kuchisake Onna. The Kuchisake Onna, or the slit-mouthed woman, is one of the great icons of modern Japanese horror. Her legend became widespread in the late 1970s when rumors of sightings near schools and neighborhoods circulated, and the hysteria was so real that in some places, groups of children were escorted home. Physically, she almost always appears normal, an ordinary-looking woman or even attractive with long black hair, wearing a coat or kimono depending on the version, and something covering the lower part of her face. In modern versions, a surgical mask is very common, which in Japan was an everyday object long before the pandemic and therefore works so well as camouflage. When she removes the mask, a gash appears, slashing her mouth from ear to ear, like a smile that cannot be human. Her abilities are simple, but designed to leave you with no easy escape. She stands before you and asks, "Watashi, Kirei, am I pretty?" If you say no, tradition says she attacks you and kills you with something sharp, often scissors. If you say yes, then it removes its mask, shows you its mouth opened with a knife, and repeats the question. And no matter what you answer, any direct response seems to condemn you. Number 10. Tengu. Tengu does have a long and powerful history. For centuries in a Buddhist context, it was considered a disturbing demon and a harbinger of conflict. Over the centuries, it went from being a demon that disturbs order to becoming, in many places, a feared and also respected mountain spirit, even venerated as a kami. Its physical description changes over time, and that is part of its history. In the oldest representations, it is closer to an avian being, like a monstrous bird of prey that can adopt human features: wings, a beak or bird's head, and claws. Over the centuries, the Tengu became more humanized, and the image that dominates today emerged: a red face, the appearance of a mountain ascetic, and an exceptionally long nose, which, as is often explained, originated as the transformation of its former beak. From this point, two main families were established: the Karasu Tengu, more crow, more bird-like, and the Dai Tengu, the Great Tengu, more humanoid, with enormous noses, the aura of mountain lords, and almost always dressed as Yamabushi, the ascetics associated with Shugendo, with their distinctive caps and equipment. In classic tales, it is attributed with the power to deceive with illusions, confuse pious people with false visions, abduct people, especially monks, and abandon them in remote places, and even possess or tempt them to lead them astray from the religious path. It also became a master of the wind. The Tengu typically carries a feather fan with which it can raise gales or control the air, and it is generally associated with storms and chaos. Before we see the last member of the list, if you want a second part with more demons, monsters, and creatures from Japanese folklore, let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Number 11. Jikininki. The Jikininki is one of the most unpleasant yokai in Japanese folklore. It is a ghost or ogre that eats humans, primarily associated with devouring corpses, and in some versions, also people. It doesn't always look like a monster. It often disguises itself as an ordinary human, for example, an old man, a traveler, or even a priest. But its features betray it. Sunken eyes, an exaggerated mouth, prominent teeth, sickly skin, as if the human mask it has put on is ill-fitting. When it reveals its true form, it can become more bestial and cadaverous, more like a ghoul. Its typical habitat is the environment of human death. It stalks wakes, cemeteries, or isolated houses where someone has died, waiting for the moment to devour the body, and sometimes the funeral offerings as well. In many versions, it wasn't born a demon, but a human, someone greedy, impious, or selfish, sometimes a monk or priest who performed rituals out of self-interest rather than compassion. When it dies, it is reborn cursed, forced to feed on the most impure and sorrowful things, the dead.